It is widely understood that if you've got back pain, trying to build your core and integrity and strength for that lower lumbar section of your body is vital to your long-term prognosis. It's vital to getting rid of back pain. It's vital to ultimately getting back to the things you love. But are sit-ups and exercises like them, such as L raises and Russian twists, are these really the sorts of exercises that are going to get you there? No, they are not. And in this video, I'm going to tell you three reasons why those are not the exercises you want to do. Specifically, we're going to hone in on sit-ups because they really are, when you think about it, a very pointless exercise, especially if we've got lower back pain. And make sure you stick around to the end because we are going to, as with all of our videos, try and give you some help, some guidance, some understanding of what you can do. And out of the bad aspects, the bad characteristics of sit-ups, we're going to draw things that are beneficial for your body, that can help you move forwards and do the right exercises, because you are in the right sort of area wanting to strengthen the back. It's just how we do these things that really matters and is what gets results. Just to help you understand these next 3 points, remember, most of the injuries in the lower back are going to involve these last two joints here, L4-5 and L5-S1 segments. Those are the segments that are most frequently injured. And when we get into the first one or two of these points, you're going to see why this area is so very vulnerable with some of the characteristics that are involved in sit-ups. The very first thing, point number one, is going to be that sit-ups and leg raises, which are the exact opposite, put maximal compression through this lower lumbar segment, particularly L5-S1 and then to a lesser degree L4-5. Why is that? Well, we can have a very simple understanding of this if we do a shoulder raise. So we pop our arms out like so. As I'm holding my arm out here, maybe you do this with your phone as well, you need to focus on what's happening up here. What's happening is my muscles here are compressing the shoulder joint to hold the integrity of that shoulder joint, putting compression through here, and we have a weight all the way off screen over there that is pulling down and putting force, exerting more force on this shoulder joint. And as I'm doing this, my shoulder's getting more and more tired because I'm compressing, I'm having to compress excessively in this section. Now, when we're doing a sit-up, all of our body weight, our rib cage, our shoulders, our head, is all hovering off the floor and having to be transmitted through the body into this particular disc, or through this particular disc into the pelvic girdle. That means we're doing an exercise that is maximally compressing a likely culprit of our symptoms. Many of us will have maybe a disc bulge or some sort of disc injury at the level of the L5-S1, and that's going to give us pain down the leg in cases like sciatica, etc. And the same sort of thing can be said for L4-5. Do we really want an exercise, especially in the early days? You're looking through YouTube trying to find something to do. Do we want the first thing we come to, or one of the early things we come to be an exercise that maximally compresses and stresses and challenges these particular joints? Probably not. And what's worse is we probably don't have the integrity and the strength to actually do that exercise properly anyway. Now, before we get on to the next one, we could say, oh, well, yeah, crunches are easier. Crunches are not necessarily coming all the way up. They're just flattening the lordosis. But again, that's still flattening the lordosis. It's still contracting and squashing down on these discs. So those sorts of exercise, leave them out. And we're going to reinforce that point with the next 2 points. Point number 2 is that you do not need any more flexion. You've done plenty of flexion through your life. You probably sat watching this video with a degree of flexion through your lumbar spine. It does not require ab contraction to bend down to touch your toes. When you're putting your socks on in the morning, maybe if we're a little bit stiff right now, we might be using the abs a little bit, but most of the time, activities of daily living, when we are bending forwards, we are not using our core to contract our way down. We are in fact using our muscles of the back and muscles of the leg, when we do it correctly, to slowly lower ourselves, because most of the actions that are going to involve your core will benefit from gravity just pushing you down there anyway. So really, the movement of a straightforward bend is fundamentally rather useless, especially when we think about how most of us injure our lower backs. We didn't injure it going straight forward, we injured it going forwards to one sock or the other sock, or twisting to grab something over there. It was a dynamic movement where the stability in our lumbar spine failed and something got injured. It wasn't a regimented forward bending movement. Now, if we want to work to resist the chances of someone pushing us right on the forehead straight backwards, then sure, doing a straightforward sit-up or crunch is going to help resist that. But the chances of that, for most of you anyway, is going to be very slim, that you have to deal with that sort of stress. So it's just not applicable to the way in which our body has to function in daily life. And also, when you're doing your rehabilitation, you want to do things that are maximally effective for the time invested. You want to make sure that there's going to be maximum reward for that time invested, and doing something that's so so minimally applicable to daily life and the stresses that you're going to be placed under, is really a waste of time, especially when there are so many more helpful sorts of exercises that we can do that are going to immediately, or more or less immediately, give you that improved resilience to the stresses and strains of daily life. The last reason sit-ups are not good is because they're going to knock your confidence. You're going to do them, you're going to get a little bit of a burn in your core, but it's going to set you back because it's doing forward-based flexion activities that got you in this place in the first place. It is stretching out these structures as you went down to touch something, pick something, sit down on your desk for too long. It's stretching out these structures that created the trouble in the first place. What we need to do instead, which is what we're going to get onto next, is actually start to restore some stability in the spine and use our full core, not just the six-pack on the front here, but our full core to create this ring, this cylinder, this corset of muscular protection for this lower lumbar spine, so that it can now go through an unencumbered healing process. So we can be protected from day one. So we can start to improve that protection from day 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and onwards, and invest our time in the right sort of core exercises, which is what we will get to right now. So we've already alluded to what we want to do in terms of effective use of training the core. The very first thing we want to do is understand neutral. Too many of you, like I've said at the early part of this video, have been sat down flexed for long periods of times. We've flattened the lumbar spine, we've done pelvic tucks, we've done sit-ups, crunches, whatever it may be. We've lost the curve in our lumbar spine. What we need to do is focus right now on just maintaining, holding it steady. And that is a core engagement. That's gently, but in a focused manner, contracting, drawing all of this musculature in, as if you've got a corset on and someone's just pulling those strings. Everything is coming in and it's providing stability. And that stability is what protects your body. It's really, really important to the functioning of the lumbar spine. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to challenge that stability. So once we've learned how to engage our core correctly, we're then going to try and challenge that stability by pulling our body in a different direction. So the spine is now held steady, like so. Let's say you're on your back, because off-weight bearing is the best way to start doing this. So the sit-ups kind of got it right there at least. So we've got a stability in our core. Now we're going to move our leg or the other leg in some way. And what that's going to do is that's going to create an asymmetrical, very reminiscent of real life, something pulling us off balance from this leg, let's suppose. And that's going to want to create a tension, a torsion, a twist, a rotation, whatever it may be. And our job of the core here now is to maintain stability and neutral. Because if we go back to the injury, it was a failure to maintain stability and neutral that led to the injury in the first place. So we do it in a safe environment. And then we come upright, and we start doing other exercises. Maybe it's a lunge where as the body goes down, we have to engage the core with the limb muscles on one side more than the other. And the core now needs to effectively transmit that weight from the midsection down into the one leg, whilst maintaining everything steady, whilst working against the fact that because we're leaning on one leg, we're going to tilt to the side a little bit. We want to keep that steady so we don't stress any of these lower lumbar segments. And that complicated movement is what's going to stimulate us in real life. Now that's an enhancement of an exercise where you're just lying on the floor, but principles are what will help you most, being able to attach principles to your rehabilitation. That way you're looking at basically learning to stabilize the core first and foremost, and then use exercises to pull it off balance, or try to pull it off balance. And the purpose of the exercise is to hold it steady. And that's what, for example, a dead bug will do when you're lying on your back, when you're moving one leg out at a time. A marching bridge would do when you're doing the same sort of thing in a slightly different position on your back. Or what a lunge will do when you're going down into that lunge position. You're challenging the core to maintain the status quo in spite of ever increasing muscular demand and physical demand to push it off balance. We can then take all sorts of other little adaptations and different exercises to build on those principles to make our core training more effective. But that's the way you really help train your core and build integrity for that lower lumbar spine, so we can rehab and recover effectively and be stronger after the injury than before. So if you've got any questions on this, what type of specific core exercise, maybe the one you're thinking of, see if it fits, let us know in the comments below. And we'll leave you with one final thought before we round this video off. Remember, the head, it's big. The rib cage and shoulders are big too, and they stop here. And then we've got this tiny little spine. Yeah, it's bigger than any other area of the spine, but it's a tiny little spine that's on its own to then transmit the force into this big area, the pelvis. It is the only thing that's there, and it's having to balance a lot of weight in a way that's not mechanically easy to do so. So it's integral that this section down here, the core, is actually holding that lot steady so it can provide a little bit more support for the conjunctional area between two large masses. That is what we're trying to do. So I do hope this video has been helpful for you. If you did find it helpful, consider giving us a thumbs up so we know you like this sort of content. And remember, you can always subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with videos just like this. We release them every single week. And you can also check out our new shorts as well, which are really, really short, 30-second videos, much less rambling, and we'll get straight to the point in those as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.